Remember that one time in high school where you had a crush on someone, but you weren't totally sure if they felt the same way? But instead of talking to the person that you had a crush on, you asked that person's best friend how they felt. Yeah, your subconscious is a little bit like that. We can't talk directly to Rex, not because of nerves, most of the time, but because Rex doesn't understand language. That's why you can't talk yourself into having a lower heart rate on a roller coaster or being super chill in a scary movie. Rex communicates through emotions, reflexes, and movements. So if you want to communicate back, you'd better learn how to talk in emotions, reflexes, and movements. And even once you do, you might not be that convincing on your first try. The first time I see something online, I'm a little bit skeptical. Is this really true? Is this backed up? As more time passes and I see the same message again and again and again, I'm much more apt to believe it. And my social media feed is full of people who I follow. So who does Rex follow on their social media? There's only 3 accounts that we need to worry about here. The first one is your visual system. That's eyesight and visual clarity. The second is your vestibular system. That's your inner ear, so hearing, balance, and muscle tone. And the third one is your proprioceptive system. That's your body awareness, your sensation, and your mobility. And every piece of information that Rex gets comes from a combination of only those 3 sources. Let's say you're outside and you see way off in the distance 2 blurry figures. You can't tell exactly what they are, but as they get closer and come into focus, you see that it's one larger figure and one smaller figure. As they get a little bit closer, you notice one is walking on 2 legs and the other is on 4. When it's closer still, you notice that it's a woman and her dog. Even closer, the woman is smiling and the dog is a happy puppy. And closest yet, the vision is totally clear. You see that it's your mom and it's a new puppy that she bought for you. As the world around you got more clear, the situation became less and less threatening, right? As your visual system got more and better information, your brain was able to predict what was going to happen next more clearly. And when that prediction is clear, your threat bucket is at the right level. Reducing the time between those 2 blurry figures way off in the distance and a new puppy is one of the most helpful things you can do for Rex. And that will make sure that Rex is working with you rather than against you. I hope that sounds simple enough, but life tends to throw lots of curveballs at you, and they can come from any direction, at any speed, at any time, so we've got to be prepared for a lot. Sometimes small, subtle, even consciously imperceptible differences are enough to really shake up Rex. You may have noticed this when you wake up one day and things just don't feel right. Maybe your body is a little bit stiff or you have a really bad voice day. It's all because something subconscious messed with Rex. Anything that disrupts your regular routine is a potential threat, and luckily enough, those curveballs can often be broken down into one of 4 categories: internal, emotional, environmental, and experiential. If you want a copy of this table for yourself, make sure you check the link down below so you can download the Hall of Fame singing guide. You probably noticed that a few things show up in multiple categories. That's not a typo. Hunger, for instance, can affect you in multiple different ways. First is experiential. If you're hungry and your belly is growling and you're distracted, you're probably not at your best. It can also affect you emotionally. If you've ever been hungry enough that you get angry, we call that hangry. And lastly, internally, because if you're hungry, you're probably not experiencing your best energy levels. And if you remember to the last video, the leaky bucket list, you'll find that things show up on both lists that way too. And this is really scary because that's how a negative feedback loop can really start and a downward spiral begins. Physical pain is an example of something that shows up pretty much everywhere. And the cycle might look like this. Step 1, your threat bucket is too high and some pain leaks out of the valve. Step 2, that pain makes prediction a little bit more difficult because you're distracted by the fact that you're in pain. Step 3, that distraction leads to an even higher level of the threat bucket. Step 4, more pain has to leak out of the valve. And it's not hard to see how that starts us back up at step number 1 with pain leaking out of the threat bucket, only it's more intense this time. This is the kind of downward spiral that will immediately stop a career. That's why our first step whenever we work with someone is to make sure they're not experiencing physical pain and then build up their resiliency so they don't fall into that cycle again. And that's why we keep coming back to this one fundamental truth. Rex doesn't know language. And that's one more reason why we named your old brain Rex, because Rex is a lizard and lizards don't tend to know very many words. It doesn't matter if you tell a lizard that there's a big juicy cockroach just in the next room waiting to become lunch, but once the lizard's visual, proprioceptive, or vestibular system puts cockroach on their social media, when you can control what goes on Rex's social media by using your visual system, your vestibular system, and your proprioceptive system, you get to control how Rex thinks and what Rex does next. Rex uses information to make decisions. The only information source that Rex has is their social media feed. If that feed is clear, true, nuanced, complete, and timely, that means the predictions are going to be spot on and the level of the threat bucket will be appropriate. That means you get to have a better life. But if that social media feed is full of half-truths, misinformation, or delayed information, Rex has a way harder time with knowing what level to put the threat bucket at. Then things get really confusing and you start sending out false alarms. I nearly had a panic attack one time when I forgot to bring a pencil to a rehearsal. Yeah, Rex was not happy with me that day. Now remember those 3 accounts that post on Rex's social media feed? The visual system, the vestibular system, and the proprioceptive system? Some of those accounts have bigger followings, and so Rex trusts them more. The same way that I trust certain people on social media more than others. This is called the neural hierarchy, where the eyes are at the top, your vestibular system is in the middle, and your proprioceptive system is at the bottom. At least that's how it is in most healthy people. And getting a little bit more specific, about 42% of Rex's trust goes towards your eyes, about 34% of Rex's trust goes towards your vestibular system, and then about 24% of Rex's trust goes towards your proprioceptive system. And when all of those systems are functioning at a super high level, Rex has 100% information and 100% trust is returned, so Rex is doing great. But let's say that during the course of your life, you've accumulated some dysfunction. Everyone who's grown up outside of a bubble has some of these. Don't worry, it's the cost of living a life. Take, for example, my friend Morgan. Morgan wears glasses and she uses them all the time. That means that her eyes are not as healthy as they could be, so that is going to reduce her vision percentage. And every now and then she gets a case of tinnitus, with that super high-pitched ringing sound that only you can hear, so that's going to lower her vestibular function too. And then back in high school when she was playing soccer in the state championship, something weird happened with her knee and she's not 100% sure about it. It hurts every now and then, but she walked it off and she's fine most of the time. It's still going to have an impact on her proprioceptive system though. If we add all that up, that means Rex's social media feed, inside Morgan's head at least, is functioning at 73% when it could be at 100. For most normal people, 73% totally fine. You can live a completely normal, healthy, happy life at 73%. But for people who have gotten this far in this video, you're not a normal person. You want to be at the top of your game. And there's too much competition to allow only 73% of you to show up on performance day. But one day that knee was really bugging her, and so she goes and gets physical therapy and she does all the homework and her knee is back to 100%. She's restored her proprioceptive system, her knee is stronger than ever before, no pain, complete range of motion, total strength. She feels fantastic about it. That means that her proprioceptive system is now back to its full capacity at 24%. That's awesome. She has gotten the best results she could hope for, and that brings her score all the way up to 77%? Better than before, absolutely, and she no longer has to deal with that knee pain. That's a huge quality of life increase, but Rex still isn't getting clear information from her eyes or from her ears, and 77% is still only a C+. Now, I'm not here for C+ level results. Are you? Instead of just focusing on one of the accounts that's posting on the social media feed, let's focus on all of them, because when we can improve everything back to 100%, that's when magic starts to happen and we unlock that flow state. We've covered so much up to this point that I want to take a quick recap before we get into the drills to help improve your total social media feed. Number 1, singers are athletes, and we need to train like athletes, and we can use the tools developed for traditional athletes for stage performance and shortcut the millions of dollars and millions of hours that they have already spent for us. Number 2, the athlete house, built first on that foundation of subconscious skills that have to be there 100% of the time. The walls, that's your physical body, that holds up the roof, which are all of the special unique skills. Number 3, you met Rex, the dinosaur that uses its crystal ball to make predictions about what's going to happen next and keeps you alive. Number 4, the threat bucket, and how the level of that threat bucket impacts your ability to sing and live a happy life. And finally, Rex's social media feed and how we can impact it so that Rex always has clear, complete, nuanced, and timely information to make the best possible predictions. Going forward, we're going to start weaving those things together so that you can build the best possible training program and start getting those magical flow state results. If you liked what you just saw, make sure that you're on the High Note Performance mailing list so you can get first dibs to everything that we put out. Also, all the social media stuff, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and now Spotify and Apple Podcasts. All of that stuff helps more than you know, and it only takes just a second. And just for the few people who have stayed right to the very, very end of this, I am including some secret links in the description down below that gets you access to Hall of Fame singing and Hall of Fame practice. These are the two guides that all of our clients get so that they can take the first couple of steps. I've never given these away for free before, but I've decided to just for a short time. So if you click those links and it doesn't work anymore, I'm sorry, you've missed your chance. So for now, jump in there as fast as you can and get your copy.